Hi folks, I've decided to do a little video about myself and my hobby, and to help me get started I've listed a bunch of questions here, otherwise I tend to go off tangent, so bear with me for a bit. For question number one, what's your name and where do you live? Okay, well my name is Helene and I live in Melbourne, Australia. If you're ever in Australia, especially in Melbourne, it's a very nice city. Do come and visit the Dollfie folks. They're pretty friendly people. They're very geeky, like myself. Okay, question number two. What's all that behind you? Oh, okay. Well, this is my BJD collection. What's a BJD? BJD is ball jointed dolls. It's a term basically coined in Japan back in 1998, I think, by a company called Volks. They're pretty much the first ones who made these kinds of dolls. It's what's special about them is they're actually a cross between a figurine and your traditional dolls, like your Barbie, Tonner, that kind of stuff. So it's an interesting thing because it grabs the best of both worlds, I reckon. If you're a collector of dolls and you're familiar with figurines, especially the Japanese ones, you'll tend to find these offer you a lot more, which I will go into later on. Okay, question number three. When did you start collecting and how did you first hear about the BJDs? Start collecting, I think I bought my first doll in November 2005, but I've heard about it in 2004. Basically, I was trolling the internet looking for action figurines because I wanted to do some sketches of some action sketches, and I needed a model. And yeah, just looking around, and I stumbled upon these dolls, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, they're fully jointed and all that. That's pretty cool. And then I found out that you can pretty much customize them from head to toe. Like, you can change their wigs, you can change their eyes, and these are like fully jointed, as I say. You can even get like little jointed fingers, so it's really fun. And you can, you know, dress them up and stuff like that, and you can repaint them, well, if you're careful, as many times as you want. Yeah, so there's a lot of aspects about this hobby. So anyway, question number four, is it related to any other of your hobbies? Well, I have a lot of hobbies. I tend to like rotate from time to time what I'm into. A few years back I was really big into anime, I think, like a lot of 5-year-olds are. And from anime, it's kind of like a natural progression that you like action figurines related to the anime series, and from there I got onto these because they're just so much more detailed, and they're bigger, and they're just a lot more flexible. Like, you can do a lot more with them. So yes, it's related to my anime Japanese sort of culture hobby. I have a lot of interest in the Japanese culture, the Korean culture, anything really. Yeah. What else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, my other hobby. I used to draw a bit, but I'm like terrible. I'm really terrible. And from there I sort of picked up the painting side of things, and related to the BJD hobby. Because in the BJD hobby you can pretty much paint your own dolls. So yeah, using everyday like art supplies, like your pastel and your watercolor pencils, your acrylic paint. So it's really friendly in that sense, like really accessible as a hobby. Like, yeah, and it really gets your creative side going. So I really enjoy that aspect of this hobby as well. Okay. Question number five. What's so fun about the BJDs? Oh, isn't it obvious? Like, okay. What's so fun about them? Well, okay, well, I already sort of mentioned about the customization part of it. Like, it's fun painting them. It's fun pushing your boundaries in terms of creating characters. I think that's the other attractive thing about it. Like it's if you're into story making, character development, like having something tangible and something you can see, something you can interact with, and you can dress them up and change their hair to whatever color you like them to be. It really supports that character development side of things. Like it just brings it that much that much more into the hobby. So character building, that's fun. I wasn't really big into stories when I first started, but a lot of people in this hobby just can't help themselves. But you just end up developing characters for them because like I've got, as you can see here, well maybe not so easily to see there, but I've got a few of the same molds, but no one doll can look the same because it's to do with how you dress them and how you paint them and stuff like that. So it's hard not to develop a story behind the doll, behind a character, because you see a face and all their stories just start to come out. So over time I find myself daydreaming about who they are and who their friends are and stuff like that. So yeah. Ugh. Okay, let's move on. Number 6. Where are your dolls from and how do you order them? How do you get them? Okay. Most of my dolls are these two here. They're from a company called Volks in Japan. They're one of my oldest dolls in the collection. And the rest of these are from Korea. They're mostly from a doll company called Dollshe. That's why they're all like kind of like the same scale. I do like that about collecting BJDs. Having them in the same size makes it easy for them to swap and change clothes. So you only have to concentrate on one size. Otherwise you'd be like, oh frack, it's like MSD here and then SD there, and then it's like, oh, I got these tiny shoes. They would have looked great on that doll, but that doll's the wrong size. So I'm like, frack it, I'm just gonna collect one size. So anyway, yes. What am I up to? Oh, okay. How to order them. You can get them straight from the stores if you know them. I will provide links, like this one here, where you can find like all the details about all the other doll companies, and you can pretty much like buy them through their websites. Most of them will have like ordering systems. The typical wait is anywhere between a week and the worst I've heard is about 6 to 8 months for them to make your dolls. So yeah. So anyway, I'll give you links like the one here for you to go to research more about them. Okay, that brings me to question 7. Where do you go to find more info about BJDs? Okay, well, this here is the best place to go to find more info about BJDs. It's pretty much like the biggest online forum that has everything you want or you need to know about BJDs and how to start this hobby. Apart from that, if you go to Google, if you Google the term ball jointed dolls, you'll find a whole heap of shit there. If you look at Google Images, that's also very helpful. Like, and they'll spit out lots of pictures of these dolls, so to give you an idea whether they're really something you'd like. So yeah, other than that, you can go to this website here. That's another forum. That's actually an Australian one. It's quite good in terms of their resources though. Okay, well that's about it really from me and my little collection here. I've got 11 dolls so far that's completed. I've actually got 3 floating heads. They call it floating heads because they have no bodies, and I don't think I'll ever get bodies for them. But anyway, I think I'm stopping right here because as you can see they're starting to take over my space. Anyway, see ya later. Peace out. This BJD hobby can get out of hand. Like this, just to show you, this is my bed, and all those damn boxes are where my dolls are stored. Anyway, it just like, they take a lot of space, and
My poor cat there. She's only got like a smidge of space left for her to curl up and take her snooze. So anyway, yes, my word of advice is before you go into this hobby, like make sure you have like a freaking big house to store all your freaking dolls in.
Ooh, got some extra questions. Extra question number 1. Do you think your gender affects your preference for your dolls' genders? Okay, well, I think this the way I collect mine anyway, I tend to go with whatever my preference is personally. So I do prefer males, so I tended to collect more male dolls than female. Actually, I've only got one female doll in this one here. Yes, the rest of them are males, although they don't really tend to look male fully, but again, I think to me, gender is not a completely one-sided thing. I actually like the idea that someone is a bit of both, because you find that it's like we're made into different people, but we all exist together for a reason. So I believe that it's the variety that makes a person. You can't completely say, you know, it's one thing or the other all the time. Sometimes it's a blend of both, and it's what makes it interesting. So yes, I don't know. What do you think? All right. Question number 2. Do you think BJDs compensate for what you don't have in real life? Lots of clothes. Lots of really nice clothes and a figure that basically won't go pear-shaped in 100 years. Well, one hopes. Compensate. I think, well, this hobby is, well, like any other, like enjoyable hobby, it's a form of escapism, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, because like through having BJDs, I get to explore their stories and their characters, and it lets me live a different person's life vicariously through my characters. So in that sense, like, it actually opens your mind to a lot of things. Like, I've got a character who's a transsexual man, and like I never used to think too much about that issue until I started developing his character, and wow, it just opened up my mind to a lot of things, and in a way I grow with it, and I have a character who's a killer, who's a psychopath killer who has lost his memory, and like, for all intents and purposes, he's a completely new man. So, like, you know, what's the stuff, the psychological, emotional baggage that comes with that? So it's fun thinking about those things and exploring those issues. Basically, they're stuff that I wouldn't personally deal with, but yeah, the BJD hobby exposes me to those issues, and I think they're quite important issues, and they're interesting issues. So, okay. Question 3. What are the positive things that this hobby has brought into your life? Positive. Lots of positive things. Like, definitely the BJD friends that I gained through this hobby. They're just immense, tremendous, amazing people. They're just so much more open to be with around. Like, they're very non-judgmental anyway. Like, the Melbourne crowd, they're awesome. Like, that's why you gotta come to Melbourne. Yeah. You know, I used to be a loner at school, and like, yeah, people think I'm like nerdy and geeky and nobody wants to be friends with me. So I was quite surprised when I got into this hobby. People were just so open and welcoming, and yeah, they really touched me in that level. And of course, from the creative side, like, this hobby, like, before I knew this hobby, I wouldn't, you know, give a rat's shit about like sewing, about painting and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, but this hobby really nurtures my creative side. Like, now, like, I'm pretty much addicted to customizing the dolls, to, you know, either paint them or dress them or whatever, or taking photos. That's the other thing, photography. So yeah, a lot of positive things. Number 4, any downside to this hobby? Oh, the only downside to this hobby is probably the cost of them. They're quite pricey. Some of them could be quite pricey, although I think they range in price. There's always a little, like, you know, a doll for every to suit everyone's like situation. But yeah, I think by the time you add up all their like wigs, their eyes, their shoes, like they can add up quite a bit. So yeah, I reckon it's the cost, and that's about it really.